Welcome to Behind the Recipe. I'm your host, Christina Hitchcock. Join me every week as we dive into the joys of cooking, explore kitchen tips and tricks, and share delicious recipes that will inspire your next meal. So, whether you're a seasoned cook or just learning your way around the stove, there's something here for everyone. Let's get cooking. Today, we're talking with my friend Randa Derkson from Randa Nutrition and Busy Day Dinners, all about semi-homemade cooking. So, welcome to the show, Randa.
I am pumped to be here.
I'm so excited to have you. Before we get started, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your business?
Yeah, for sure. So, as you said, my name is Randa Derkson, and I'm here up in Canada in the Okanagan area, and I'm a nutritionist, a certified holistic nutritionist, and a sports nutritionist. And I'm also a really busy mom with a child that just got diagnosed last year with celiac, a bunch of other, health issues in our home. So, in addition to cooking for a living, because I have the food blogs, Random Nutrition and Busy Day Dinners, I'm also trying to incorporate our busy life and our food issues. So there's like a lot going on,
Just
and
a few things.
just a few things, and to incorporate it all where I can package it up and help others. So I'm still going through the weeds because, as you know, things shift with your personal life.
Yep.
But yeah, and then I also just published a cookbook. So we'll talk about all that today with all the tips, all the things, and what I do.
Yeah, that's awesome. Your cookbook is fantastic. I can't wait to talk about that later. But yeah, so you are I think you've basically just described so many of the readers from my website and my followers online. I mean, busy moms are where it's at. I would love to meet a not busy mom.
Right? I mean, yeah, that's like one of those phrases, busy moms, and it's like, well, yeah, that's just everything. Like
Yeah, that's just momming
yeah.
in general. And I don't think it gets easier as they get older.
Oh, don't tell me that.
It
There's a
just
new
changes.
problem.
It just changes. It's a different kind of busy. So I love today's topic that we decided to talk about, this whole concept of semi-homemade cooking, because I know with social media, there's such pressure to make everything perfect and make everything Instagram worthy and, from scratch and homemade. And you feel almost like if you don't do that, it's like you're being judged by everybody. And I feel that pressure.
Yeah, worst mom ever. And I saw a reel not long ago. They did something homemade, and I can't remember what it was, but they used a shortcut, and people were going for them in the comments. And I'm like, excuse me?
Yeah.
There was
I'll
nothing
never
wrong.
forget the first nasty comment I received on my site was because I used a canned cream of chicken soup. And like they came at me for that. And I took it very personally back then. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. Why am I feeding my family this this awful stuff? But then when I step back and look at it, I'm like, it's not that awful. And you got to do what you got to do to make it work. And it's better than takeout.
Yeah, exactly. You're gonna do that or hit up the drive-through.
Yeah,
No, like,
exactly.
it's frustrating to see that, but I also do the same thing, even though I know, and I'm reading these comments and I'm like, well, that's bull.
Hmm.
I'm also like, oh, what am I doing wrong? I know what's right, or like, what the thing is, but yeah, you still have to look inward, and you're just like, well, if we just feel judged all the time as women, we're always wondering if we're doing the right thing.
Yeah. So we're here to tell you that you are doing the right thing. You care for your family. You're doing the best with what you have, doing what you can, and that's perfectly fine. No judgment here. I mean, we all do it.
And hey, yeah, what I said about takeout earlier, nothing wrong with it. We still want those treats. We still want to hit up, Popeyes or whatever you like. So
Yep.
gotta go for it.
There's nothing wrong. Everything in moderation. I had one doctor that told me that. He's like, everything in moderation.
Yeah.
So, okay. So let's dive into the whole concept of semi homemade cooking. I mean, because I'm thinking back to like dinner that I made last night. Every component of it either came out of the freezer or the pantry. So it was prepared because it was just my son and I home for dinner. My husband's not always home with his schedule. It's crazy. He's not always home for dinner. So last night it was just me and Joe, and everything was, I'm not even going to say semi homemade. It was just reheated from the freezer and from the pantry.
I mean, we had frozen French fries with our burgers last night, so same. You know,
Yeah.
It's we're in
So it's
survival mode.
yeah, so it's good to have those things and to even in fact build them into your meal plan. I mean, I built that type of like I put that into my meal plan for last night because I knew I needed an easy dinner that night.
And I still have this meal planning course, but I don't promote it. That's one of the things about how to meal plan is look at your schedule. You're
Hmm.
not going to be making a pot roast on a day you have hockey, soccer, whatever your extracurriculars are. So
Yeah.
don't set yourself up for failure to begin with.
Yeah. And like
And
there's so many great, I think, semi-homemade options out there. I think they've really come a long way over the years. And even just like the past 5 years or so, the options have really come a long way.
and I think it's important to dispel that myth that processed food, jarred food is unhealthy. It's not. Obviously, there's options out there that are not preferable, but everyone's individual. And like you can look at the back of the ingredients. There's lots of, say, marinara sauces that are like 4 ingredients, and you know what they are.
Hmm.
Freezing in the freezer, that's perfect. Like vegetables in the frozen vegetables are actually more nutritious, like nutrient dense than freshly picked because they lose their nutrients as they're getting shipped from all over the world to your grocery store.
Yeah. So building that kind of stuff into your meal plan is actually it's kind of smart.
Yeah. And budget friendly. I mean, I don't know the cost of groceries where you are, but here in Canada,
Mhm.
it is ridiculous. Okay. $7 they wanted for 3 cucumbers the other day. And I was like, forget it. That used to be
Wow.
$1.99.
Yeah. It has gotten in my area too, groceries have gone up exponentially over like the last year or two. It's really it's insane how much everything has gone up. I just made I made a commitment that for the next maybe month or two, we are eating out of the freezer as much as possible because my freezer was so chock full of random things. Like I drug it all out on Sunday, laid it all out on the counter, inventoried everything, put it all in a my list app on my phone. And I'm like, we are eating out of the freezer for the next few weeks. I am not buying a protein until all of this is gone.
Yeah, because you don't want to get freezer burn and then you waste money because you had to chuck it,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
We've been going through our deep freeze and we're like, oh, yeah, I forgot we had this roast.
Yeah. So I'm
So,
making a commitment. So you can hold me accountable to this. I'm making a commitment to eat my way through the freezer. And as I'm putting stuff in there, I'm going to add it to my digital list. And or as I'm taking stuff out, I'm going to remove it from my digital list.
look at you being organized.
Yeah, I'm going
Wow.
to try, but I have a feeling I need to be held. I need an accountability group for that.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear
So
you.
as a nutritionist, what are some of your favorite semi-homemade options? Like what do you
Okay.
have in your
So,
pantry?
yeah, something I can do for like a quick high protein meal, like for lunches, because we're working, we're in our zone, and all of a sudden it's 1 o'clock. We're like, oh crap, we need to eat. And then I'm really bad and do not like, as a nutritionist, this is bad of me, so don't take this. So I'll just go and grab a protein bar and then get back to it because I'm scared I'll get distracted, right? I don't
Yeah.
want to cook the whole thing. So something that I have done a few times and I love it is you buy those pre-marinated Slovakia chicken skewers or whatever
Mm.
flavor, and I cook them up ahead of time. Okay, I just throw them in the oven or barbecue, whatever. And then there was a chickpea salad from the grocery store. It was like it's a brand. I think it's in Canada. It's Summer Fresh. I don't know if you guys have it in the U.S. And it's like this marinated chickpea salad. And
Hmm.
I will just take that and mix it with my Slovakia for a lunch or a dinner. And I didn't have to do anything because the chicken was pre-cooked. You can also do that with a rotisserie chicken, whatever. So that's like one where it's like high protein, high fiber, you got your veggies and it's filling.
Yeah.
And then what we'll do is again, either pre-cooked chicken or tofu or whatever protein you like, or the rotisserie, again, it's already done. And I'll make like a lazy cabbage roll in a bowl. And when I say lazy, there's no chopping vegetables on my part at all. I have the skillet going. I put a little sesame oil down. I take the coleslaw kits, but without their gross dressing.
Yeah.
And I dump it in there, soften the cabbage, warm up whatever meat's there. And I make my own kind of dressing. Usually it's like sesame oil, soy sauce, ginger, that kind of thing
Right.
in there. So it's all flavored. Throw it in a bowl, and then I put spicy mayo over it.
Ooh, that sounds really good.
It is actually really good. If I have pre-cut veggies, like extra carrots, extra, bell peppers, I'll throw it in there too. But sometimes it's just the bag salad, which
Hmm.
I mean, the coleslaw kits are still kind of cheap here. The bag
Right.
salad kits, I mean, again, that's another idea for veggies, but you get so little and they're like $8 now where I'm
Yeah.
at. So we haven't been buying those, but it is another option.
Yeah. Another option to that would even be like, so I'm a big fan of like I usually shop on either Saturday, grocery shop on Saturdays or Sundays, mostly Sundays. And then I come home and I prep as much as I can for the week. So like that would be so easy to just buy a head of cabbage and shred it up, once because cabbage is hardy. It'll last in a zip top bag in the fridge for quite some time. So shred it up and then you just use it throughout the week. But that way you're not having to take the time to cut the cabbage as you need it.
So it's annoying.
I
The
know.
cabbage too, because it makes so much. Like if you throw it through a food processor and it expands, right?
Yeah.
Have so much and you don't want it always in your lunch. What I like to do is I'll make like a brine or sometimes just straight vinegar and I will store the purple cabbage in it so it gets pickled and then you can put it on top of your salads, your sandwiches. It's really, really good. I love pickled things.
Yeah, me too.
So I'm all about that. And I agree with you. I one of my habits is once I get my groceries, I prep them, wash them, slice up the bell peppers, whatever. Chop the onions,
Mm-hmm.
some like especially if you get them on sale. I use those choppers the from Amazon, and it's like you put it down, that dices it for you. And it sounds so silly, but it does. It saves me so much time, especially if I'm like doing French onion soup. You have to do so many freaking onions. Saves with the tears too. But I freeze them.
Oh, that's a
I
great
don't,
idea.
yeah, I
Hmm.
don't even flash freeze them. I just throw them in a Ziploc bag, throw them in the freezer, and then yeah, when you're cooking, you have it done. I do that with celery as well. So
Oh, that's a great idea because I always have my celery always goes bad before I could use it all. Like I'll buy it to make chicken salad or to make some soups or whatever, but then there's like half a head of celery that's left over. I should just before before it gets all pale yellow and squishy and soft, I should probably just chop it up and throw it in the freezer.
yeah, that's what I do because I don't like celery, but I like it in
Yeah.
my soup, right? When you make your
Yeah.
mirepoix. And you can buy them pre-done too. At the grocery store, I see mirepoix mixes.
Yeah.
I love it, but it's just a lot cheaper to do it.
Right.
So there's that. And then let's not forget the classic of like jarred marinara sauce.
Mm-hmm.
That is the classic for a reason. You don't even really have to do anything. Yes, it's not traditional quote unquote spaghetti, but throw a can or a jar of Rouse or Rose or however you say it, or whatever brand you
Yeah.
like, something, add some beef, you're good.
Yeah.
Like,
Fun fact, I just did one of the previous episodes that I did with Giangi Townsend from Giangi's Kitchen, who's a French Italian American. She lived in Italy for a good portion of her life. Marinara sauce isn't truly Italian. Like the
oh,
kind that we are used to is very Americanized.
oh,
True marinara sauce from Italy is just like tomatoes, onions, wine.
yeah.
It's so basic, but that's a fun fact. So
Yeah, when I look at marinara sauces, I do always look at the back to make sure there's no sugar added because it's like
yeah,
no purpose of it making it sweeter. Like it really bugs me. I don't like it for my taste buds. So I don't know about your marinara sauces in the States. The majority of ours here in Canada are pretty good that way, but there's a few.
yeah,
So if you're looking for something like to reduce sugar, that just read your labels.
yeah.
Just
So
check
it's just about being smart and stocking your pantry and freezer, it sounds like, with the ingredients that you can make use of on those days or those times, whether it's lunchtime or dinner time, that you need that quick go-to.
Yeah, I mean, there's gonna be some meal prep ahead of time.
Mhm.
And sometimes it can be fancy. I saw a sale of like bones, and I bought a bunch,
Mm.
simmered it for 24 hours, and it was like 2 days, and I made a demi glace, a
Mhm.
broth or whatever for steak. And I've never done it before, but I did that, condense it down. Now it's in the freezer. Now that's fancy, okay? That's not like a realistic everyday. We're not having, that's like for fancy steak dinners. But it was just nice to have that done because I'm not going to do that the day of, obviously.
Yeah.
Um, And yeah, there is some meal prep involved, but there are things you can just grab from the store.
Right.
Make it work for you. Again, the rotisserie chicken, like on
My
Randa,
favorite.
right? On Randa Nutrition, there's rotisserie chicken tacos. And seriously, it's like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Grab a bag of that coleslaw cabbage, grab the rotisserie chicken, grab whatever, sauces you like. I like pickled stuff, so I'll put like pickled onions or you can pickled carrots, you can buy that jarred. And then maybe like I don't know, like a sauce of whatever. Like again, I'm really into spicy mayo right now, and the Peronaise, oh my gosh, it is my favorite. I put that on everything. It's like the
Oh,
new Frank for me. I put it on everything. It's delicious.
wow. Sounds
Oh,
delicious.
yeah.
I love to, we talked a little bit before about soups. That's one of my favorite ways to do semi-homemade. I mean, pasta, I have a copycat Olive Garden pasta fagioli recipe, and this is my favorite soup to make. I'll make a huge batch on Sunday and then eat it all week long for lunch because I don't really have to think of it. And I mean, you can make it with or without the beef, if you want to just be a true purist and it's just pasta and beans, which is what pasta fagioli is. Um, it's basically just using, canned tomatoes, canned broth, canned beans, and you're just putting that all together. And if you buy the frozen vegetables, the frozen mirepoix, which the carrots, onions, and celery, if you don't know what that is, you can buy that frozen. I mean, that is such a great semi-homemade soup, and it tastes like you've slaved over it and it simmered all day. And it
Exactly.
freezes well too.
Yeah, emergency. Double your recipe so you can have
Always.
emergency, right? No, that's, you know, how when we think of homemade, like how homemade are people expecting? Like I'm not sitting there with a tomato strainer and straining tomatoes. No, I've always bought canned tomatoes. I've always
Yeah.
like there's no way. I'm not, well, I don't actually like tomatoes at all. I can't cut whole tomatoes. I'm a
Mm.
food blogger, but I can't do it. Yeah.
We all have
But
our quirks.
we all have our things. So for canned for me, like I still consider canned ingredients homemade because that's just getting a little ridiculous. We don't all live in areas where we can go pick something from the forest. I don't know. Like you see some of these reels and TikToks and like it's almost like there's shame. And I don't think that's their intention, not everyone. But they're walking through the meadow with their beautiful dresses and like the whole trad wife thing where they're
Yeah.
everything scratch. And I'm just like, even if I was able to not work, that's just not me. It's gonna be like when I bake bread, the whole family knows about it when they walk through the door. Okay. Like I made bread. Look what I did for you today. I made a deal out of it. It's a treat.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, like homemade stuff is fantastic when we have the time. I just don't think that we should be feeling guilty over not going 100% homemade and that there are healthier options. Having like as we know from creating content, they planned this out. They planned
Mhm.
what they were making in those videos. So there was a plan for a homemade thing. And yes, their kitchen's beautiful and they're dressed beautiful. Everything's beautiful. On the other side of that camera, I promise
Yeah.
you, there are mountains of laundry. Like behind me, you can see I'm shooting stuff right now. I have the Ninja Foodie up there. I have stuff all over my kit. Like you can see where the ingredients are on my kitchen counter. It's it's just that's real life.
People
So
love when I share the behind the scenes photos from my video days because literally what you see, the 5 square feet of what you see on camera is nothing. If you see what is on the sides of me, what's in front of me, what's like piled up on my dining room table, I mean, it's all the stuff that we all have in our kitchens. It's all the dirty dishes because I've probably done 6 recipes that day. So there are stacks and stacks of dirty dishes everywhere, half-eaten recipes, and all kinds of mess and nonsense.
and then our fridges are just falling. You open the door and it just everything falls out.
Yes. I have my
Um,
family trained that before they eat anything, they ask. They're like, "Can I eat this?" Like everything. Can I eat this cheese? Can I eat this? Whatever it is that's sitting there. They
oh, there's
ask.
nothing that ticks me off more than when I go to do something and I'm out. Yeah,
Yep.
that happens a lot here.
Where's
Uh,
that sour cream I bought? I know I bought it specifically for this.
right. Oh, I know. And like other things too, and it's not quote unquote health, like what health conscious or wellness influencers would say healthy, but they're short, quick fix things that are delicious. And again, no shame to anyone that does that. I think shame around food is complete bull.
Yeah.
We're doing the best we can. And like you said, moderation. But the Pillsbury crescents are this, it's a kitchen hero.
Yeah,
They really are.
they
We
are.
the Busy Day Dinners cookbook. It's one of Stacy's recipes. It's the chicken pot pie, and she uses the Pillsbury dough as the top cover.
Mm,
Saves time. It's still from scratch, just with a little helper. And I'm getting tagged in stories. People are loving that recipe. So it's easy. Just unroll it and throw it on there.
yeah. That's, you know what? That's such a great tip, I think, in being creative with what you have. Because most people think pot pie there has to be like a pie crust or a biscuit. But, if you look in your fridge and you have a leftover can of crescents from the holidays or whatever, yeah, throw it on top of your pot pie.
Phyllo dough, whatever, like whatever you have, that it's a win. We have also on Busy Day Dinners these mini pizza pot pies, and
Hmm.
it's the same idea. You have like your pizza ingredients in like these ramekins, and then you throw the Pillsbury crust on top, and it's done like 15 minutes, and
Yeah.
you're eating, right?
One of my favorite go-tos that I always have in my pantry are the microwave grains. So whether it's rice or quinoa or whatever, those like 90 seconds, rip off the top, throw them in the microwave. I can't tell you the last time, well, probably it was over the summer trying to make fried rice on the Blackstone, but otherwise I'm not making rice from scratch. I'm just popping one of those in the microwave and it's such a great time saver. I love the one recipe that I love on my website is the Jennifer Aniston salad. That's another one. I'll make a big batch on Sunday and eat it all through the week. I just use the microwave quinoa and make it with that. And then it's like chickpeas and crumbled fat. So it's basically like all semi homemade stuff. I think the only thing you make from scratch would be the dressing, which is mostly just lemon juice.
Yeah. Yeah. So the Bistro Express or whatever they're called. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's what they have there. That's what we have here. It's same thing. Yeah. I would throw those in my quick lunches. You can add them to stir fries on the side. Like
Yeah.
with that and Slovakia thing I mentioned earlier. Perfect. And oh, before I forget, like the hero of dinners, when you're like, oh, I don't know what to make for a side. I don't have time. Freaking veggie tray. Come on. Everyone loves veggies and dip.
No. That's
Oh,
a great idea.
oh, it's something I would tell my clients all the time. Like, quit stressing out about sides. Just grab some raw veggies. Get back to basics. We love that. We're at a party. We're always dipping into everything, right? Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, like we don't have to be like the what was her name? The Cleaver, June Cleaver, where they cook all afternoon with the pot roast with the potatoes and the green beans and like you have this perfectly perfect dinner with piping hot biscuits or roll like gone like those days are gone. I mean, it's nice when you can do that if you have the time and you want to do that. More power to you. But I mean, that's no longer, I think, the norm. I mean,
not when
ain't
the
nobody got time for that.
life's different now. I mean, yeah, the odd time, but when we do it, we're bragging about it. It's a big deal, right? When we're spending that time doing it.
Yeah.
My husband's birthday's coming up, and I'm like, well, what do you want? He's like, I want everything smoked. We're having meat fest. And I'm like, okay. But it's like, okay, he's like, let's make cornbread. Let's do this. You know what? I'm making cornbread. It has to be gluten-free from a box.
Yeah, well, nothing wrong with that.
Planning this because we have plans that day too. So even planning ahead, I'm like, you know what? I'm not doing it from scratch. We're gonna be doing this and just
Right.
easy veggie tray. Veggie tray from
Love
Costco.
that.
That's bet.
And you know what? When you have leftover veggie tray, I love to throw that into soups. Like
I
chop it up
throw
and throw it in a soup.
I throw it in my kids' school lunches.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's just when we know we're tired and we're going to Costco, we will because here it's $15 for the big veggie tray.
Right.
At the store here, it's 20 some bucks for a small veggie tray.
Right.
So I feel like the value is it's really good at Costco if you have
Yeah.
one. So
Yeah.
and then you're
I
getting
yeah, you're getting all your nutrition and it's fun. Like if my mom told me I could sit and eat like dip for dinner, I would have been like all over that.
yeah, no, my daughter loves it. Both my kids love it. And going to parties again. That's what I don't know. I flock to the veggie tray, and I always think to myself, I'm at the party, I'm like, I should do this more often. Yeah, I remember I like raw carrots.
Yeah,
You so that's what I would suggest too if you wanted to add like some veggies, but you're like, oh, and you're going on Pinterest and you're like, well, that's another 45 minutes. That's another this. Like, we don't want to prep five different things for a
right.
Wednesday meal.
Right. So
So,
just let the supermarket do it for you. One of my favorite tricks too is if I, this is where I prioritize time over money sometimes because this is a more expensive option, but shop the salad bar at your grocery store. So if you need, just a few chopped, carrots or shredded carrots or whatever, and you don't need the whole big bag of them, they're just going to turn to mush before you ever use them again. Buy what you need at the salad bar and use it in whatever you're making.
so I've never seen a salad bar before in a grocery store. Like
Oh,
here, I
really?
guess they just don't do it. Sometimes there's like an olive bar at some grocery stores. But what some stores will have is they'll pre-package like sliced, yeah, carrots or sliced, they'll do like stir fry kits, you know what I
Yes.
mean? Like
Hmm.
carrot kits. So again, yeah, if it's not a budget issue, same with those, the broccoli woccoli, the pre-chopped broccoli. There's nothing I hate more than cutting broccoli because it gets everywhere. Okay. That and the cauliflower. Like it's why
Yeah.
I never, but buying those pre-packaged ones, especially when they're on sale, it's just again, you're throwing them into skillets or you're throwing them on the table with like veggie trays. It does save time, especially when, whether the difference between you in or out the door to your next activity is like a 10-minute
Mhm.
difference. That's when you want to use those shortcuts.
Yeah. Now, before we hopped on, we were talking about a little bit about our kids and how things change. Like I was telling her how my son, just started college this year, and like our life has changed a bit because there's not all the pressures that come with like high school and middle school and all those extracurriculars. But like when you're in the throes of that, and because my son was I have one boy, but he was in everything. I mean, some seasons there were like three activities, and every night we were like running from here, there, and everywhere. And many, many meals were eaten in the car. So having those quick fix things that you can grab, like I wish I thought to do the veggie tray for that because he totally would have loved that. You could just rip up some rotisserie chicken and some veggies like carrots, celery, peppers, or even he loves broccoli. I mean, that would have been perfect for him.
Yeah. And it seems so simple, but really back to basics sometimes is what we need. We
Hmm.
don't have to reinvent the wheel and try to find this fancy recipe. Like it doesn't have to be gourmet every night. Back to basics, and you
Yeah.
forget how good it tastes. And like when you're running to and from activities to hockey, taekwondo, whatever, especially if it's a long commute, you can have those. Like, so my husband has one. It's like a lunch kit that's heated.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
So you can have them in there if you're in between activities and you have a meal, or find something that works for you in the drive-through. Like, yeah, we're talking semi-homemade, but like again, there's no pressure. Do what works for you for your goals. And sometimes you can take things from fast food and repurpose it at home, right? Like
Yeah.
those chicken things and chicken patties, and you
Yeah.
can plop something up at home with the
Yeah.
breast.
Whenever we don't have a Costco near us, but whenever I get to one, I always stock up on I think it's naked or bare naked.
Oh, those chickens.
The
So
chicken nuggets, oh, they're my favorite. And because they taste so good and they're really not that bad for you. I don't think. Maybe I need to read the
oh, they're, you know what? So we don't have them in Canada, but I see them all the time in like macro groups and stuff in the States. And a lot of Canadians go down to the States to grab them because they are like the ingredients are great and it's not heavily breaded.
right. And I love them and they're just a great meal for like because there's many nights now where I'm home by myself and I'm not going to cook a meal for one person. I mean, I just refuse. I will have toast for dinner. One of my favorite foods is toast. But on nights where I feel like I need a little protein, maybe I didn't have much for breakfast or lunch, I'll just throw some of those into the air fryer and it's perfect. You could throw them on a wrap. You can just
I got something for you. I'm
what?
gonna, so in Canada, we have Boston pizza. I know the States has it too, but it's different. There's an appetizer called Thai chicken bites.
Hmm.
And it's basically like chicken nuggets sliced up. So you have some of the meat showing. Toss that in Thai chili sauce and you serve it with like green onions, shredded carrots, and it's served over like crunchy chow mein
Ooh,
and it has sesame seeds and all that stuff. Yeah, do that. That's good on top of a salad. That's
yum,
good on its own. That's good in a wrap sandwich, whatever. Yeah, do it.
yum. All right, I'm hungry now.
I haven't had, I know, I'm starving. I know. But yeah.
I'm hungry. You're killing me here, Randa.
But
This has
yeah,
been, why don't you tell us a little bit before we wrap up about your new book, Busy Day Dinners?
yeah. So we published a cookbook, which myself and my partner, Stacey Vaughn, she's the co-creator of Busy Day Dinners, and she's behind Simply Stacey. And she, originally the book was hers. And she asked me to join. And I was like, yeah, sure, because I'm a disaster, right? Like I need busy day dinners. And that's exactly what it is. Most of the meals are 30 minutes or less. There are a few that are longer, but they are more meals that you can prep ahead of time. Like I
Mhm.
have a Thai chili noodle salad with chicken, and I think it said like it's over an hour, but it's not. It's just because you're putting things together and letting it chill or leaving
Right.
it. There's
Not a
also
lot
things,
of hands-on time.
yeah, exactly. It's not a lot of hands-on time. And that's a lot of it is like you got sheet pans, you have casseroles, and it's just simple but delicious, like with twists, like pizza stuffed chicken breasts,
Yeah.
or you have the chicken pot pie casserole. I'm just kind of flipping through some of them because
And
when you
I
have,
I
yeah,
love that most of the like all of the recipes have photos, right?
yeah, every single recipe has a photo.
Yeah.
That is important to us. Originally, there was a couple that we didn't, and then it was actually speaking with you and a couple other people in our groups. And it's like, no, let's get photos for everything so people can see what it actually looks like.
Yeah, I love that. When I got to look at it before you published it, and the photos are amazing, and the recipes are great. They're not just your typical, you know, I don't want to say like, but I'm going to say it, boring recipes, like boring 30-minute recipes that you've seen, so much of, and we all know how to make. These are like fun twists on classics and ways to really inject a lot of flavor, I think, into a 30-minute meal.
Yeah, and like for example, like chicken tortilla base. So it's like those Mexican flavors. Again, use rotisserie chicken. Um, we're not, I don't know who makes homemade tortillas for casseroles, but use tortilla chips or cut up some tortillas, whatever works for you. The cheese. Okay. And as a food blogger, you know this too. Yes, like it's better to use cheese and shred it yourself, as we know this. It
Mhm.
melts better, it's better. But I use the pre-sliced shredded stuff all the time.
Me
It's
too.
not pretty, but again, it saves time.
Yep. I do it too. I do it too. I got an actual, when you were saying about who makes their own tortillas, here's a hack for you. If you feel like you really want the flavor and the texture of a homemade tortilla, go to your local Mexican restaurant and buy tortillas. You don't have to order it off the menu. Just call them and say, hey, can I buy, you know, a dozen tortillas from you? 9 times out of 10, they're going to sell them to you. Same thing with pizza dough. You want to make a homemade pizza? Don't make the dough. Go to your pizza place and say, hey, can I buy some dough? Most of them will sell you the dough already made and you don't have to do it.
I never even thought of
I
that.
do that
That's,
all the time.
oh, I love that. That's a great
Such a
idea.
cheat. Yeah. So just go and like buy it already done from the restaurants and the people that do it for a living and do it well. And, if you want to make 3 pizzas, buy 3 pieces of dough. Or,
Oh, before we wrap up, I got one more meal idea that's usually a hit with the whole family. Build your own burrito bars.
ooh,
So we do the microwavable rice that you were talking about. Put that out. We have ground beef or whatever you want as your filling. And then all your vegetables lined up. So shredded lettuce, I buy that from the store.
yeah.
Whatever veggies, salsa, refried beans, black beans. Again, 10 minutes to throw on the counter and no one's yelling at you because they don't like it. Okay. It's because it's their fault if they don't like it because they're building their own thing.
Yeah.
So,
And buy that rice in the bag. Buy the cilantro lime rice in the bag.
okay. Yeah.
Heat
The
some of
flavor.
that up. And yeah, yum. My
Yeah.
guys
It's
would
just
love that.
an easy one, right? It's same as like homemade salad bowls, whatever. It's
Hmm.
a good way to clean out the leftovers in your fridge too.
Yeah, like a baked potato. You could even do it like a baked potato bar or baked sweet potato bar. Yeah. So
Leftover
many great
chicken from
ideas.
2 nights before, leftover ground, whatever, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So many good ideas. Awesome. Well, we'll be sure, or instead of we, I will be sure to include the link to your cookbook, Busy Day Dinners, in the show notes and the links to some of the recipes that we talked about today that are now making me very hungry because I didn't eat well today. So this is probably a bad thing for me to have a podcast where I'm talking about recipes. I need to eat better. It's kind of like going to the grocery store hungry. But we'll put links to everything in the show notes so you can go ahead and grab them there. And I want to thank you so much for joining me today, Randa. Why don't you remind the listeners where they can find you online?
Yeah, so you can find me at randanutrition.com, busydaydinners.com, or on social media. I'm more so on Instagram, and it's actually at Randa Derkson.
Okay.
So, and
And we'll,
that's
like I said, we'll put all those links in the show notes so you can easily find Randa. So,
good.
thanks so much for tuning into today's episode of Behind the Recipe. I hope you enjoyed our conversation and picked up a few tips or recipes to try on the next busy night that you have. And if you love this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your friends. And of course, I'd always love to hear from you. So send me your questions, your feedback, your recipe ideas. Just head over to itisakeeper.com/BTR for Behind the Recipe. And until next time, happy cooking. And remember, everything's better when shared in the kitchen.